Welcome to the most must-hear sports podcast in history. Welcome to First Round KO. I am your host, KO, aka Howard J. Dingers, and I'm joined, as always, by Hanson McIlvain.
What is up?
Oh
my God.
Oops, I bumped the mic. I apologize. Just holding on to my fantasy football championship belt because
Your XFL belt?
which is supposed to say XFFL, because obviously it's fantasy. But holding on to this because week one went really well, and this week Devontae Adams didn't do fuck all, and neither did Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And the team I'm going against is currently Russell Wilson, and it's not and Matt Ryan because we have a super flex, so that's fun. So I gotta hold my belt while I still can.
Yeah, I was about to say, might get some pictures with it and send some folks.
I also don't want to cover this up too much.
I was about to say, make your shirt known.
Yeah, shirt's got to be known. Podcast listeners, all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter. But anyway, let's talk. So thankfully, I bring up fantasy because thankfully none of my players were involved in the mass injury plague that hit the NFL today. So we got to talk about this. I will say
it might be a location issue. We've been hearing about a possible location issue where most of the injuries are coming from.
Yeah, for sure. And I will say right off the bat, we are currently watching Sunday Night Football as we're recording. And hopefully it times out where we can talk. It'll be close to the end of the game by the time we get to it.
I don't think it's going to come down to the wire. Someone's going to pull out here. So
it doesn't feel like it, but maybe it. I don't know. Right now we're watching.
Cam's throwing the ball like he's an MVP quarterback sometimes, minus the almost interception right there.
We're towards the end of the third quarter right now, and it's a 4-point game, so we'll see. But we'll get to that game.
Closer than we were expecting.
Exactly. But we'll get to that game.
That's kind of the theme of this week, honestly.
Yeah, right. So I'm gonna bring up the injuries right off the bat, and then we're gonna dive more into the injuries as we get to each game. So just to start off the bat, the 49ers kind of were hit the worst. Nick Bosa, he is feared to have torn his ACL and is potentially out for the season. Even if he's not, he's going to miss the majority of it. Solomon Thomas was also carted off the field. Jimmy Garoppolo injured his ankle and was out for the game. And running back Raheem Mostert hurt his knee, and he was also out for the rest of the game. Rough day for the 49ers, but like I said, we're going to get into that. Probably the biggest one, if you don't count the four that the 49ers had, the biggest injury was the New York Giants star running back Saquon Barkley. Most likely, I'm not a doctor, and obviously he's having an MRI tomorrow, but most likely tearing his ACL, and he's probably going to be out for the rest of the season. That one's huge.
And that's a more than ace. That's like an ACL, MCL, LCL meniscus. Like he did some big boy stuff.
It's bad when Saquon was just writhing in pain on the ground. And honestly, the Giants even lost Sterling Shepard with a toe injury for that game. And we know as Packer fans, Devontae Adams missed some time last year. And even when he came back, he was pretty slow with that toe injury. Like, toe injuries are big. I've had one, but I broke my toe in middle school. It's not fun. It takes a very long time to heal.
Now imagine being a multi-million-dollar wide receiver trying to run around with a broken toe. Oh.
Exactly. So yeah, tough for those two teams. Justin Herbert, we're going to talk about at some point, because Justin Herbert got to start for the Chargers because Tyrod Taylor on Friday was questionable in practice because of a rib injury. He was good to go for the game. He was cleared. But then all of a sudden, he must have re-aggravated it during pregame warm-ups.
He went to the hospital today. I don't know if you heard about that. Yeah, he went to the hospital with chest pain. Yeah,
because all of a sudden, literally the game started and everyone was like, wait, Justin Herbert's in the game. What's happening? No one was figuring. So finally the news came out that Tyrod had a chest injury that, like I said, re-aggravated before the game. He had to go to the hospital. We're going to talk about that too when we get to it. Christian McCaffrey, after a touchdown, is listed as questionable return after Carolina's loss to the Buccaneers with a hamstring injury. Hamstring is going to be the key word today. It seems like a lot of those. The Colts wide receiver Paris Campbell carted off the field. That one looked bad, as well as Malik Hooker, who due to an Achilles injury, both did not return to the game. Devontae Adams was out with another hamstring injury. He's questionable return. He looked like he probably could have gone back out. He was standing the entire time on the sideline, but the Packers were already up at that point, so maybe they just kept him out for safety's sake. We'll see how that goes as the week goes on. Rams rookie back Cam Akers went out with a rib injury. The Broncos lost Drew Lock for the remainder of the game with a right shoulder injury. That brought out quarterback Jeff Driscoll, I believe it was. And Cortland Sutton also had to leave with a knee/leg cramping. And the Dolphins lost Byron Jones with a groin injury. That was and Anthony Barr with a shoulder injury, Mike Boone with a concussion, and the Jets lost Brashad Perriman due to an ankle injury. Holy shit. It was just one after another after another. It was legitimately 16 before halftime of the noon slot of games. It was ridiculous.
So this is all the injuries, and I know like there's normally a lot of injuries, but I'm just looking at the ESPN page right now, and it's just like injuries, and like this is only to what? Like we're only to Detroit. We're only at Detroit. It's just we keep going and keep going and keep going. There's so many injuries right now in the NFL for week 2, and I think this is kind of starting to show what happens when there's no preseason. So, for all you people, for future reference, I'm pretty sure at least 2 weeks of preseason are gonna need to be a thing from here on out because this is bad.
Well, that's the thing. I thought we were gonna have a shit ton of injuries week 1. I'm surprised it happened week 2. I don't know why. Maybe there's some science behind it. Why all of this happened week 2 instead of week 1.
I think they were anticipating injuries week 1, so everybody played a bit more careful. And then week 2, they were all like, "Oh, we didn't get hurt week 1, so
yeah, week 2, like we're fine." So yeah, that it's so weird. So I'm very, yeah, I'm hopefully this doesn't continue. Obviously, we never wish injuries on anyone. It was just a very strange day, and honestly, a lot of these injuries are going to have major impacts on the rest of the season. So we'll get into all of those as we go. And honestly, let's start with Saquon because that's the first game I have slated down to. The Bears beating the Giants after Saquon goes down 13-17. Chicago comes out on top. Neither team really looked good. And
I'll say, how many more gifts does Chicago need at this point? You know,
like, dude, I don't know. Chicago has beaten 2 teams that they are slightly better than. That's the only read I've gotten away from this. I can't say anything on the Bears because their defense still doesn't look great. Because the Giants still scored after Saquon left too. They scored a touchdown, and I don't know. I think I mostly want to focus on the Giants, and you kind of brought up a good point before we started recording about what this kind of means for the Giants losing Saquon potentially for the season.
I mean, so if he's out for the season, like going into today's game, there was talks that if he like didn't have a like one or two games over 100 yards in the next 5, that they were going to try to trade him
if he didn't perform, basically.
But yeah, they like he was going to need a 100-yard game basically in the next 5, or something pretty close a couple times. And ever since that kind of came out, there's buzz around NFL insiders today about what that was going to mean for the running back market, because running backs are kind of in a weird financial spot right now. Because some running backs are super, super expensive, and some running backs are super like bang for your buck, which we're seeing with a lot of teams like Adrian Peterson, like is bang for your buck as it gets in Detroit right now. So if Saquon's out for the season, that really that doesn't just affect the Giants and what their plans are for this season, not because we were saying they went from possibly sneaking into even maybe a Super Bowl because they were looking really good. They might be able to sneak their way in something that far into the postseason, or from that to maybe thinking about tanking because of losing one player. It's wild.
I mean, I listen, I don't believe, even if organizations want to tank, which I'm sure it's happened before, we've seen it. A lot of players don't want to, so I don't know if that. I still think a lot of these guys are going to go out there and try to fight for jobs. I think Daniel Jones still needs to kind of prove that he is still that guy. So we'll see. I mean, the Giants. I don't know, because I think with Saquon, I even said it in the preview for this week that they were kind of the team, in my opinion, that was maybe going to somewhat challenge the Cowboys. Because I mean, Washington could, but Philly it's just not going to work for Philly this year. And with the loss of Saquon, I mean, that basically guarantees the Cowboys are going to win this division. And the future of the Giants, I mean, they could look to trade Saquon at this point. They really could, because now he's become injury prone. He's become unreliable, and he honestly hasn't even performed that well. So that it's going to be very interesting looking forward on this one.
I mean, he went from first round draft pick value this morning to like maybe third or fourth round, like worth for a trade. And in the NFL open market, that we're talking millions of dollars. Like the Giants just lost millions of dollars in value today. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Tough day for the Giants.
Speaking of crazy, though, let's talk about this fucking game. Oh, my God. The Dallas Cowboys. Speaking of them boys.
Well, another team that's just – they got lucky for no goddamn reason. And
okay. I just need to say, I give the Cowboys full credit for what they did. That was an unbelievable comeback. They did not give up. They kept doing what they needed to do. They deserved that win. However, the Atlanta Falcons special team is going to get an absolute ass chewing, because why did 3 different Falcons watch that fucking onside kick go past the 10-yard? They just watched it. They're like, oh, we're going to give you a chance to get this.
I've never seen this type of onside kick before.
Fucking fall on top of the ball. The Cowboys
was actually a really interesting kick method.
It was great. Greg Zuerlein, awesome. Like I said, the Cowboys did a great job. Why would you not fall on the ball before the 10-yard line? Because the Cowboys literally can't touch it until then. You can. The kicking team or the receiving team can touch it.
Touch it whenever they want, yeah.
But 3 different Falcons players. Go back and watch it. 3 different Falcons players.
Yeah, no, they're just it's like they're waiting for like the punt to go towards the goal line so they can get it closer to the one.
I literally had flashbacks
they
to
had
the fucking
brain farts.
I had flashbacks to the Seahawks Brandon Bostic game. I really did.
No, that's LeBron going to J.R. Smith like.
Oh my God, it was just I couldn't believe it. But like, okay, but here's my actual takeaway from this game is both offenses are great, and we knew that. But both defenses also suck dick.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, it was a really fun game to watch. There was a lot of yard today, just in general, a lot of yardage.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Dak had 450 yards. Can we just take a moment?
Did he really?
He was 34 for 47, 450 yards with a touchdown. Only one touchdown.
Crazy.
And Zeke ran for 90. So, like, I mean, that's definitely Mike McCarthy offensive numbers. I mean,
right?
Those were the type of numbers Aaron Rodgers was getting when they were in their prime. So,
I couldn't believe it. It was a fun game to watch, especially offensively. I have Calvin Ridley in a couple of my leagues. He's going to be one of my guys this season, and I think he's great. And honestly, the receiving core, Hayden Hurst showed up today, and Matt Ryan looks like, you know, it's the odd year Matt Ryan or the even year, I guess we'll call it. But like I don't know. I don't even know what to say. Both of these defenses need to figure something out, because there's going to be teams that these teams can't put 40 points up against, and the other team may be able to. Like, their defense needs to keep them in games. And the Falcons were doing that for a while. The Falcons honestly played 3 good quarters, but as we always say, you got to play a full 4 quarters. But Dallas,
they played a really solid first half.
Mm-hmm. And we talked about Dallas too, and Diggs, their cornerback, I can't remember, but their rookie cornerback, and Mike McCarthy giving him the Listen, Mike, I really understand you trying to give your vote of confidence to this rookie, but he was going against Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. And I saw his interview where he answered this too. He's like, no disrespect to these two, but I really have faith in it. It's like, dude, you have a rookie who played like, no, you should not have. It just put a target on this guy. I think it honestly put a chip on Julio and Calvin Ridley and Matt Ryan, and
Which
he
was
dropped
a mistake.
Yeah, and he dropped an interception that was underthrown, and there's touchdown. All right, Patriots aren't going away here.
I'm telling you, Cam, if he keeps getting better week by week like he's doing, he might try to fight for an MVP. I'm serious.
We'll see. We'll see about
that. This week by week progression is what I'm keeping an eye on, because at this rate, man, oh boy.
Basically, my point is the Falcons are going to compete for a wild card spot purely on their offense. But the Cowboys are going to win their division, but neither team are going to win playoff games because they don't have the defense for it. At least right now. I mean, trades can still happen and stuff, but the Cowboys are already injury ridden. So I really don't see either of them doing much of anything come playoff time.
I'm happy to see Todd Gurley getting 21 carries. That's nice. But what I'm not happy to see is it's only 61 yards. So, I mean, it's still like 3 yards a carry. It's not awful. It's not great. Right. But I think he's got to get used to 21 carries a game now. So, because he hasn't had that in, 18 months. So this is something that's going to be a little bit new for him. He's got to get his legs back.
For sure. All right, let's talk about potentially, is this the best offense in football? The Green Bay Packers have the most points and I think the most yards in the first 2 weeks. I know we have the most points because we literally have had the most points in the first 2 games, or in each of the first 2 weeks.
Oh, I didn't realize Aaron Jones went for 168.
Well, it helps that he had a 80-yard touchdown to start the third quarter.
Yeah. Oh man, that was beautiful.
Listen, this is the best rushing attack that the Packers have had since 2003. So this is the best rushing attack that Aaron Rodgers has had, and Rodgers looks good even when Tay went down. I mean, okay, Marquez still has his issues. We know this. Marquez is going to have his issues, but Aaron still trusts him, and Aaron Jones is still a good receiver, and Jamal Williams is still a good receiver, and Lazard is still there, and Jay Sternberger.
I know. As soon as Sternberger dropped that, I was about to call you and be like, KO, your guy.
My God,
KO, your guy.
This is supposed to be his breakout year. Yeah.
Now, other guy on the J.K. Scott had a great day.
JK had a great – hey, and I wore his jersey. I've wore his jersey the past 2 weeks, and it will continue for the next 17 weeks. We got a bye week coming up after 2 more. I can't wait for next week. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to focus too much on the Lions because I don't think they're going to be too much of anything this year. They're going to upset a few people, but they're not going to – I don't think they're going to push for the playoffs.
Yeah, I'll say they'll be a nuisance for teams trying to make it in.
Yeah. But man, the Packers, I want to see them against, like next week. I absolutely cannot wait for Sunday Night Football next week because that's the test. And if the Packers offense still looks good, if they still look good, they're not going to look great because New Orleans is good. Like their defense is really good. But if they still look good and they still put up, 25 plus points, this is going to be a scary team, and they're going to compete this year, especially with San Fran, who was our kryptonite, especially with them losing a lot of key defensive players.
And Jimmy Garoppolo potentially for a little bit too. So I texted you earlier, and I was like, I've got a semi-hot take about how I feel about the Packers right now.
Let's hear it.
I think they made the right move not drafting any wide receivers, or at least they knew what they were doing. They knew what they had, and they felt comfortable with what they had.
With Scantling and Lazard?
And MVS. Like, I think they knew what they had for weapons already, and they knew with what Aaron Rodgers could do with them, they were going to be really comfortable. And Jordan Love is the type of guy that has an Aaron Rodgers style game. Just he's very young, So this setup gives him like 3-4 full seasons
Yeah.
to really like old school get ready. So I think the Packers are taking one out of the old school playbook here and maybe playing it that way.
I don't disagree with you because I mean that is most likely their mindset. Because we've seen Rodgers, we've seen a lot of receivers leave Green Bay and not do anything, and even James Jones coming back and becoming a star because he came back and not doing anything anywhere else. But the only thing that I keep thinking of when people say that, and again I agree because Rodgers is amazing, but just imagine if we had someone like Laviska Shenault.
Yeah.
Like if we had another weapon, just imagine what this offense could have been. And I get that we can still be good with this, but imagine if we were even better. That's the only thing, because none of those first two picks, it was Jordan Love and AJ Dillon are our first two picks.
And Jordan Love's not going to see the field for half a decade. So
yeah, exactly. And AJ Dillon, he sees garbage time.
Yeah,
these picks aren't helping us now, and we need to capitalize on Aaron's. On his prime, basically. He's at the peak. He's towards the back end of the peak, but he's still at his peak right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It feels like we're not capitalizing on it, but maybe we do. Maybe they still do trust MVS to quit dropping the ball and Jay Sternberger to quit drop. And
I mean, you have to remember MVS is still young, man.
Yes.
So,
no, he is. And Lazard,
23. So
yeah.
These guys. Lazard's another one too. Like
I still like Lazard.
I like our receiving core right now.
Mm-hmm.
By the end of this season, I feel really comfortable because you have to remember, like this is like the Greg Jennings, like Donald Driver receiving core was kind of like started like this. They were young Packers, so if this continues, we might get like they had an old Brett Favre. We might get an old Aaron Rodgers with a Packer built and grown strong receiving core. So, and then by the time that Aaron Rodgers is done, these guys are going to be like older and still strong, and Jordan Love's going to come in and it's going to have veteran receivers. So I think it's a pretty solid move. I think the Packers are in a good spot right now, especially with the way they're winning games.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, I'm shit talking the guy that I'm losing to in fantasy right now. In my dynasty league though, where I got Josh Allen, my MVP. We're going to talk about him again soon.
Yeah, you probably got a lot of points with him today.
I'm winning. Unless Josh Jacob puts up 80 points tomorrow night, I'm going to win. So no. I don't think it's physically possible.
No,
but yeah, I'm
700 yards.
Right. What? Oh yeah. All right. Let's move on. Jacksonville Jaguars and the Tennessee Titans. Oh man, Jacksonville's good.
And it's weird, like, because I wasn't actually watching. That wasn't the game I was actually paying attention to, but I had the sound on for it. So like I'd have the games I was paying attention to on my laptop, and I have sound on the one I'm not watching, so I can hear it.
Right.
And you just hear the announcers just talking about the dash, Minshew. Look at that throw, and I look over and Minshew looks like a really good quarterback. And it's very quickly getting to a point where it's like, do we want to have the number 1 overall pick right now? Do we?
Even if they do, are they taking Trevor Lawrence? Because
do they trade it?
Exactly.
Because the value of Trevor Lawrence, because if you can find a team that has 2 first-round draft picks this upcoming season, that number 1 overall draft pick is 2 first-round draft picks, which is something that is almost unprecedented in football.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the prodigal son of quarterbacks is coming into the league. Like, this is LeBron James. So, and we're preparing.
Yeah, and not even Minshew too. Like, this defense is legit. They shut down Derrick Henry, who has been their kryptonite over the past 4 seasons. Well, probably only 2 seasons, but still, like, they did not let him do anything. And Tannehill
he had
still
84 yards. That's shutting Derrick Henry down.
It is, and not a tough and listen. And Tannehill still looked good. Geno Smith had a really good game. They still scored and they still lost. That's the thing. But this Jacksonville team, They competed. They have a very, very, very young team. And they're going to make a lot of these guys are rookies, especially on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of these guys are young, second-year players on the offensive side of the ball. There's a lot of youth on this team, and they're playing this well right now. And it's kind of scary. So I'm back on with the Jaguars. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs this year. I don't think they're gonna really making it, but they're gonna be headaches. They're gonna be headaches for people.
Just like the Lions, they're gonna be a pain in the ass for those teams that are just trying to squeak in.
And Green Bay has to play them. I'm pretty excited for that game.
Yeah, it's gonna be a really good test for our defense to see what they can do against a younger, like more wild, like not necessarily. I mean, they're unexpected. That's the best way to describe Gardner Minshew. He's really good at improvising, just kind of like Patrick Mahomes in a way. So yeah, I think if you're a Jacksonville fan right now, this is about the most optimistic 1-1 you probably could have thought of. For at least like this is close to being 2-0 as you could really want to be.
Yeah. And if you're Tennessee,
this is about best case scenario too. So.
And if I'm Tennessee, I don't worry too much because obviously this Jacksonville team is competing and they beat a very good Colts team last week. So like I'm not too worried because you still won. If you're Tennessee, you look at it and you say we still won.
From the top down, the NFL is a lot more even this year, it seems like, which I am all for. I love good games. Like we're not like the Packers kind of blew out the Lions, but we had a good half of football, a good 3 quarters, you know. Mm-hmm. So it's not like it was a full game. Like first quarter, the Packers went up by 3 scores. It was a good game, and every game we've had has been a good game.
Exactly,
for the most part, and they've been close. And I can't complain. I've been watching football all weekend, and that's normally not a thing I do. So
come on, Cam, pull the trigger. There it is. There's a big play.
I think you're ahead of me by about 10 seconds.
Fair enough. So let's talk about these Indianapolis Colts because they went in. Actually, I do want to mention the Colts because this was a good bounce back week for them. Phillip Rivers looked better. He's still got issues, but this was a very good bounce back team because the Colts could have came into this game saying, "Wow, like we lost the game we should have won last week. Now we're playing this very talented Vikings team. They could have come in with their heads down low and they could have got blown up. But they came in and played it hard. And if I don't know what to do in Minnesota. I mean, I'm looking at this from a Packers fan. I fucking love this. This is great. I love seeing them collapse like this. But, from an analytical standpoint, looking at this objectively, I don't know. To me, it's been Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins has been the issue. Like they have not found their quarterback yet, but they paid this guy $84 million. I just don't understand it. And even now, we've talked about their secondary is extremely young, but they looked bad. Like Kirk was sacked or has been sacked for a safety 2 weeks in a row now.
And you know what Kirk Cousins' issue is? He can't move on his feet like some of these other quarterbacks can, and his line can't protect him. There's a quarterback that's on the market right now that is really quick and virtually free.
Ooh, and you know what? In Minnesota, specifically,
he'd be a great fit on that team.
Well, and taking football out of it, Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you haven't figured it out yet, we're talking about Colin Kaepernick. Again, as a Packer fan, I do not want to see Colin Kaepernick in our division.
Oh, no. No, just as a Packer fan in general, I don't want to see Colin Kaepernick on the other side of the field.
Yeah.
But especially not in our division.
But you bring up a really good point because he might fit really well in that
situation. Yeah.
Yes.
I was thinking about that earlier when I was watching that Vikings game. I'm like, this might be a week 3 like press conference that we might hear about week 4 where they might bring in a free agent because they don't really have a backup in Minnesota right now that would be Kirk Cousins' replacement. They've got an injury backup. So
I did not think of that. I like that a lot.
Yeah. But on the other side of the ball, Go Jonathan Taylor, man. Like he could make a Pro Bowl in a couple of years. Like this dude is looking good. Like starting running back of an NFL like playoff team, good. And he is in his second game in the NFL.
Yeah, he looks incredible. Like he is the guy that they drafted him to be. And again, it's unfortunate that his opportunities are coming at the expense of Marlon Mack and being out for the season. Mm-hmm. But like this couldn't be more perfect for Jonathan Taylor. Like he is now the bell cow back. We'll see if they use him. I think they're because he's catching passes too, and that was the thing on why they kept Nyheim Hines. Because he was the pass catcher, but like if Jonathan Taylor can be a 3-down back, which he is, trust me, I watched it.
We saw him do it in Wisconsin for years.
Yeah, he was the most impressive back out of the slew of running backs that we've had at Wisconsin. He was the one that impressed me the most because Melvin Gordon had the speed and he was behind the blockers. Monte Ball, he was a good. He hit the hole. He was really smart. Yeah, and he was quick on the feet. Yeah, and who else am I thinking? James White too, but he was never he was never the really feature guy though.
He had an amazing line though.
Exactly, but you look at Jonathan.
Specifically, was so good.
Jonathan Taylor broke tackles. Jonathan Taylor never. He did have obviously the Wisconsin 70-yard run without being touched because our blocking is so good, but he also had 50-yard touchdowns where he broke through 3 tackles at the line of scrimmage and then broke out. And he has the speed. He has the power. He can catch the pass. He is the all-around back that's finally come out of Wisconsin. And the Colts, I think, have found their running back of the future.
Jonathan Taylor carried the most mediocre quarterback Wisconsin's ever had. Like, let's be real.
Alex Hornibrook?
I really feel...
Cohen.
Yeah, Cohen.
Sorry.
Cohen.
I had my ears mixed up there. I liked Cohen. I still I
was never a huge fan of him because he just didn't do enough for me.
I had such high hopes for him.
He just never performed.
Yeah.
He was solid, but he always threw like one too many interceptions in just the wrong time. And...
He looked so good against Ohio State in that in that championship. Oh, yeah. But anyway, let's talk about my MVP for the season. I'm not even saying MVP candidate anymore. I think he's going to be MVP of the league. I think Josh Allen is that guy this year, and he's playing with a purpose. And yes, I mean, who did he play week 1? Now I can't even remember. The Jets? Did they play the Jets week 1? I can't remember.
Well, but that doesn't count for a game.
Right, and they played the Dolphins this week. But the Dolphins are – I don't know.
I don't know. Fitzpatrick put up a hell of a lot of yards too.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
328, and Josh Allen put up 417.
The Bills' defense
got to be some sort of record.
The Bills' defense needs to lock that down because they should not be allowing that. That defense should not be allowing that kind of stuff.
The Dolphins' defense. I know Daniel Jones is playing really well, but they should be allowing 417 yards either. Like that's a lot.
Okay, so Josh Allen. Here is a list of quarterbacks who have thrown 700-plus passing yards, 6+ touchdowns, and 0 interceptions through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. In 2013, Peyton Manning. In 2015, Tom Brady. In 2019, Patrick Mahomes. And in 2020, Josh Allen.
That's quite a list.
That is quite a list, and Josh Allen putting himself in good company. He is and he's got the legs. He runs so well. I love the guy this year, and I love that I drafted him into my fantasy leagues.
I don't know, but here's my only concern: playing at MetLife. I've been hearing some grumblings that, especially the 49ers, were not happy about the turf quality as of recent. And
okay.
There were a couple grumblings that came out last week as well about the turf quality at MetLife.
Okay.
And I don't know if last week there was only one game played there. And I don't know if they didn't do any good turf maintenance over the week because allegedly this week it wasn't very good for the Giants or the 49ers and Jets game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
Interesting. So yeah, again, and like I said, this Bills defense, they're supposed to be a lot better than this. They shouldn't be allowing 28 points to the Dolphins. I know
No.
Fitzpatrick balled out, but this defense, but I think they'll be fine. I think this is a divisional game. I mean, I'm not going to read too much into it, you know. So, plus it's a Ryan Fitzpatrick revenge game, which it is half of the season for him, basically. Let's talk about those 49ers and those Jets. Oh, man, those injuries.
I got to say the Jets put up 13 more points than I was expecting them to.
Yeah. I mean, I would have given them.
Even without Bosa on the field. Even without Bosa on the field, I really didn't expect them to put up any points.
Well, and they had that one big play for the touchdown. I mean, I agree. I still didn't really expect them to put up a lot, even when a lot of those guys went down. But we got to talk about what this means for the 49ers. Potentially losing Solomon Thomas, Nick Bosa, Jimmy Garoppolo, and Raheem Mostert. Mostert probably won't miss the rest of the season. I don't know about Garoppolo, but he's had his issues since he came to San Francisco. But it looked pretty bad for Nick Bosa and Solomon Thomas.
So here's what I'll tell you based on what I saw from how Jimmy Garoppolo injured himself. The last time I saw somebody's ankle move like that was when Kevin Durant tore his Achilles in the final.
Oh, no. Let me see if there's anything new. But
so now that is a very I almost said a very Pacific, like it's an ocean. That's a very specific tweak that if you do just right, your Achilles snaps like a rubber band, goes flying up your leg. We would have known if that would have happened.
So Garoppolo has a high ankle sprain. That's 6 hours ago.
Hey, now the other thing too is we don't know the severity of that sprain. We've seen sprains have people sit out for weeks.
So isn't that what Michael Thomas is going through right now? If I'm remembering correctly.
And a lot of those are like stress-induced injuries, and they just get worse if you don't sit.
Well, and that's the thing. And I've heard about 3 weeks you can comfortably miss and come back and you should be fine. Michael Thomas is still trying to play tomorrow night, which is, in my opinion, stupid. The Saints will be fine without him. Obviously.
They don't need him.
No. Not to say that they don't need the number one wide receiver, but for this game specifically, I think they're going to be fine. That's going to be interesting because Nick Mullins is their quarterback, and we haven't seen a lot of – we've seen Nick Mullins be somewhat successful, but not really to the level where he's an every week starting quarterback. So – and without Raheem Mostert, I mean, they still have J.D. McKissick, and they still have Tevin Coleman, so they're okay at running back.
But you have to remember what kind of style of Jimmy Garoppolo only throws how many passes a game anyway?
Yeah.
So,
but
like 15, 20?
But are they going to keep that up without that defense? Because now that they've lost a lot on that defense. Like, that whole defensive line is basically gone from last year.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it really sucks. And I once again, I hope this is not a turf issue, because if this is a turf issue, because this is something that Packers fans had an issue with last year with the Packers playing up in Canada. Remember that? They tried to play the preseason game up there, and they didn't play the game because the turf was so bad.
Yeah.
Or at least the starters didn't play.
Yeah. No, wasn't that that was the Hall of Fame game? Wasn't it?
That was a different game. That was a totally different game.
Totally. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, that was Pat McAfee game.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, that'll be something to look at. I'll have to look more into that for future New York home games. I think this is just good news for the Seahawks. I mean, honestly, the Seahawks are going to run away with this division now, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The Rams and the Eagles, this is what I expected out of this game. I don't have much to say. I mean, that offensive line looks terrible, and they don't have the weapons that they need. They desperately need Alshon Jeffrey back, but even with Jeffrey back, they need an offensive line. Like, it's just and their defense is just god awful. I mean, this Eagles team.
Carson Wentz is making mistakes too.
Yes.
And the margin for error right now with their roster is very minimal. and you can't be throwing the ball away, and he's been doing that too many times. So
Yeah, yeah. I honestly I don't have much else to say. I mean, the Rams look good, and the loss with Cam Akers isn't. It's not too big. It's unfortunate, obviously, but they have Brown at running back too, who kind of was the starter anyway. So not too. And I mean, Robert Woods still look good too. So
yeah,
sorry, I'm just still fantasy football stuff.
it's a big night. A lot of numbers going up.
Well, I basically just, I mean, I already lost before this game even started, but fucking
Mm.
Russell Wilson is just,
He's pretty good.
ridiculous. The Denver Broncos put up more of a fight than I thought against the Steelers, especially with Drew Lock going out early. And Jeff Driscoll, I always have problems with his name, looked pretty decent. I mean, I think he threw even a touchdown pass, but he did make mistakes late in the game too. This defense is still who I think they are. They're still one of the better defenses in the league, potentially the best defense in the league right now. I think Baltimore in the same division has a shot at that, and maybe even the Cardinals too. We're gonna get to them, but yeah, the Pittsburgh still looks good.
I mean, if the Broncos stop that one 84-yard play to Connor, the Broncos win that game. So, or at least they stop that one drive. I mean, that was kind of a bad defensive read, and Big Ben took advantage of it, and he aired it out. So that's what you get when you play against a veteran quarterback. But yeah, minus Denver actually did play pretty solid. I wasn't expecting them to play that well against Pittsburgh. So
I like to bring up a lot of big, I like to bring up young stars and young teams, and this is one of those. Jerry Jeudy and Cortland Sutton are going to be a hell of a duo someday, and especially if Drew Lock is their guy and he gets locked in, literally no pun intended there. If he ends up being their guy and he is consistent, they're gonna have a lot of success. And Noah Fant too. I can't even the second year tight end. He looks great too. They have a lot of weapons on that offense.
yeah.
So if they get their defense back, Von Miller in a few years, or next year, and hopefully for a couple years to come, they should be. They're going to compete. I mean, they're in a tough division, but they're going to be able to compete.
And hopefully this will be a season that Melvin Gordon can try to figure things out for himself too. Try to maybe this is the year the game slows down a bit for him.
Maybe.
So another full season just helps so much.
I actually have to bring up stats for this game. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as predicted, looked very good on offense against a terrible Carolina defense. Now, their defense also looked very good, slowed down Christian McCaffrey, slowed down this high-powered offense. So I will give them credit where credit is due because their young defense is stepping up. But Tom Brady...
How about Leonard Fournette, sir?
Yeah, where the hell did Leonard Fournette come from?
Right where I said he was. I told you he was still really good. Now I know it's against the Panthers. I know.
AJ, right?
But still, Leonard Fournette showed up, man. 103 yards.
See, that's the thing. That's against the Panthers. I'm not going to read too much into this.
10 yards a carry, man. That against any NFL team, that's good.
Listen, I'm a Jaguars fan. I'm used to this. He'll do this once or twice a season. That's fine. And you know what? The next time that he'll do it is against the Panthers because they played them twice.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of good things coming out of this as far as the offense because Tom Brady still didn't look sharp. And Scotty Miller, who was impressing in camps and at practice and was supposed to be the number 2 guy without Chris Godwin, he didn't look great. He obviously got his catches and his numbers, and Mike Evans, a healthy Mike Evans, looked good. But Brady, I don't know. Brady still, and I mean, maybe Brady was just looking to hand off the ball because that's what Brady likes to do. But he still threw that pick. That's 4 games in a row now. I hope people realize 4 games in a row where Brady has thrown in at least 1 interception. Yeah. And before this week, I didn't know this before. I found this out after we recorded last week. Tom Brady, before this game, 3 games in a row threw a pick 6. He threw more pick sixes in those 3 games than Aaron Rodgers has in his career. Tom Brady is not the same quarterback, people. I don't get why people still think that he's this savior that's going to come in. Yes, he has a stacked offense, but like, I don't know. It's those 2 receivers. That's all it really is. It's a committee at running back of running backs I don't trust. Neither tight end I trust right now. And that offensive line I still don't trust because Brady's still getting beat up.
Ooh, that's a knee injury, I think.
You must be really behind me now.
Yeah, it's pretty slow. Well, no, I just saw the replay.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I just saw him go down. It was rough.
That's unfortunate for the Seahawks to lose Well, we'll see what happens with KJ Wright.
I mean,
This Bird dude is
coming
out of nowhere.
Yeah, so I mean, I think the Panthers. I see Cam Newton think Panthers. They actually, honestly, they kind of look like Panthers uniforms minus the red stripes. So,
so Brady didn't get sacked. I mean, I saw a lot of pressure on him. He didn't get sacked though.
But I think he made more of an effort to get the ball out before he had the opportunity to.
Yeah.
So
that was ugly.
Besides that,
I still don't like. I made this prediction that they're going to look good this year, and everyone's going to jump back on the hype train. I have never been on the hype train. I will not get on the hype train, and think it. Thank good. Even after a win, see that's the thing. It's not even that impressive of a win.
It wasn't convincing. Yeah.
No.
Like there's ways to win a game, and that just like Teddy Bridgewater with 2 interceptions. I still feel like played a better game. So
that's fair.
Honestly. So I don't know. He was connecting on more passes. And they felt more comfortable to have him throw the ball more. Like I understand they didn't win the game, and that might have been a part of it. But I mean, Christian McCaffrey, I guess, played fine. Yeah, he played pretty well. So I don't know. Teddy Bridgewater, 367 yards. That's pretty nuts.
That is pretty nuts.
There's a lot of 300, 400-yard games this week.
My ESPN's being weird. What game you got next on there?
Well, I'm all out of order now. Let's see what haven't we done?
Yeah, what haven't we talked about? While I'm getting back to this,
we haven't talked about the Washington Football Club and the Cardinals yet.
We have not, and I think that's
Cardinals. Then we got to do Chiefs Chargers.
All right, I'm back now.
Ravens Texans.
Hey, look at you! The Cardinals Washington was next on my list. 30-15, the Arizona Cardinals won. And yes, this was only over the football team, but the Cardinals are a legit team, and
I think the football team's an actual pain in the ass.
The football team will be a pain in the ass for sure. I'm just gonna say Washington. That sounds so weird to say. Washington will be a pain in the ass. They're not gonna they're gonna compete in a lot of games, honestly, because of that defensive line and because of who they do have in that secondary. It's a very physical team. And Dwayne Haskins, if he can settle down and make good decisions, he's not a terrible quarterback because they has Terry McLaurin and Steven Sims, who are good receivers. And they have Antonio Gibson, who finally got in the end zone today. They have a good young core. I love these good young cores. And Washington, especially with Riverboat Ron, they have something brewing for the future. They really do.
Now, I really like a 23-year-old Dwayne Haskins going 19 for 33 and 223 yards. I'm a big numbers guy. And for a Washington football team that was not supposed to be good at all, those are really good numbers for Dwayne Haskins. And I like the way he's progressing. And with Riverboat Ron being the powerful coach that he is, like you said, they really got something good going. They might even have their quarterback in the future already there, and they just have to develop him a little bit more.
They might.
I mean, they're probably 3 years out from making a solid playoff run. Mm-hmm. But 3 years from now, Dwayne Haskins could be a really, really solid quarterback.
And speaking of solid quarterbacks, I mean, Kyler Murray. I mean, what can't you say about this kid? He's incredible.
He's going to be the face of that franchise until he wants to leave.
He has MVP. Legit, the 3 MVP candidates in my head right now are Russell Wilson, Josh Allen, and Kyler Murray. Like, those are the 3 guys right now. You might even be able to throw Aaron Rodgers in there the way he's played the first 2 weeks. But like Kyler is just ridiculous. I mean, again, he threw 286 with a touchdown and a pick, and he even ran for 68 yards or 67 yards and 2 touchdowns. This dude is just he's fun to watch. He's so fun to watch because he's so fast, and the way that he can just outrun. You know, when quarterbacks they started to get chased on the edge and they're running out and they just they loop around just to buy some time. Kyler Murray loops around and he eventually beats someone to the edge and he'll just run for 20 yards.
Yeah,
he's just crazy. And that one touchdown that he had today, the one rushing touch, it was a longer rushing touchdown. I don't think he was even touched. He looked like Lamar.
Well, you have to keep in mind he's only like 5 foot. Like, I mean, there's not really much to grab. He's a really tiny dude.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, this is what we saw from him in college. We didn't think it was going to translate this literally to the next level. And he's kind of making some of these defenses look pretty stupid.
Well, what helps is that they have a former very successful college coach in Cliff Kingsbury.
Yeah. And the thing that we've learned about offensive college offensive-minded coaches, they're much more open-minded and willing to try different things. And Kyler Murray isn't the type of quarterback that's traditional to what the NFL has seen up until the last 5 years when Russell Wilson really started making it big and Rodgers started using his legs more. This whole new breed of running quarterbacks is ushering in a whole new playbook. But this is a playbook that's been used in college for decades because historically you put your most athletic player at the quarterback position. So we know all these wildcats, these quarterback sneaks. And we're starting to see these be just regular playbook pieces in Arizona.
Well, yeah, because we're finally getting these guys who have been doing this in college forever. Cam Newton's hair is just ridiculous. We're finally seeing these guys who can actually throw. I mean, that's what it comes down to is they have the NFL accuracy along with the athleticism and the legs. So it's very fun to see. Honestly, I think it makes for great football. It makes for very fun television.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's talk about this Chiefs-Chargers game. We'll start with the positive, I guess. We'll start with Justin Herbert, who looked really good in his NFL debut out of nowhere. Like, he didn't know he was going to play, and I think that's what's most impressive to me. Like, he ran for a touchdown. He threw for a touchdown. He threw a pick, but
I don't care. He threw 311 yards.
I'm surprised he only threw one. Like, this is a good Kansas City Chiefs team, and they had to go into overtime to beat Justin Herbert. I've been saying this team, top to bottom, is extremely talented. The only thing holding them back was Tyrod Taylor. But the only thing that worries me now is Anthony Lynn, the head coach, has already come out today and said
Tyrod's going to be the starter.
When Tyrod is healthy, he's got the starting job. I hate that.
He might lose his job over that. Seriously, like that borderline might be like that might be the first step to putting yourself on the hot seat.
Well, I mean, can you imagine the backlash the first game Tyrod's back when he comes in and they don't score on their first 2 or 3 drives?
Well, and then you put Justin back in.
You have to.
But
I just don't understand how you can take him out, especially if he ends up playing again next week. If Tyrod can't and Justin Herbert throws even somewhat similarly to the way he does this week, then it has to change. There's no way that Tyrod should go back in. They barely beat the Bengals last week.
Yeah, and the thing that's plagued this Chargers team all of last season is they couldn't finish games.
Mm-hmm. And they actually should have lost to the Bengals. The Bengals kicker missed the game-winning field goal.
Yes. The Chargers can't finish games, and it tends to be who's leading your team tends to be a big factor in that. And they've had issues at the quarterback position, and Phillip Rivers was a good quarterback too, but finishing out games is difficult sometimes. So in this position now, you've got this guy that you weren't necessarily expecting to play this year, and I wasn't expecting the Chargers to be good this year. I thought they were actually going to start Herbert week 1. Because I thought that was going to be the plan. Like, they were just going to lose out and let him play. But now it looks like if they let him play, they're going to win. So it becomes – I'm really glad I'm not in that front office right now. Because there's some heated arguments going on right now about who's going to be starting next week. Or
Plug him in and
depending
let
on
him play.
when.
Did you see how heartbroken Joey Bosa was after that game? He was on a knee. He was so exhausted because he had such an impact on that game. He was single-handedly keeping that defense on the field and keeping them in the game. He had such an
out
impact.
for a couple plays in overtime.
Did, and even on one, he got blocked, and then he just kind of stayed on his knees because he's tired, dude. I just like, why not just play Herbert? He's obviously the better quarterback right now, and especially for this system. I just don't understand it. As far as the Chiefs go, they looked rough to start this out. Patrick Mahomes and them, they punted on their first 3 possessions. They really did not get going until later in the second quarter, I think it was.
Mm-hmm. And even that was a little sketchy. Like, they really had to pull it together in the end. And I think that's a really good situation for the Chiefs to have to deal with, because they're not gonna have a whole lot of close games this season like this, I don't think.
Right.
So to be in the situation where they have to play and this is their first overtime game since 2018.
Damn, really?
It's been like postseason 2018. It's been a little bit. So, and they won that game. So it's good for them to have this close game experience for the season, something they haven't experienced in a while. So then when the time comes, it'll help them out when they actually need it more. In addition to that, the extra quarter of play helps them get a little more of their wind. I don't think they're ever going to complain about getting a little extra playing time, trying to get their conditioning ready.
True.
So,
and I think we also need to mention Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 10 rushes for only 38 yards.
Yeah.
I think this Chargers defense is good though. I can't hold that too much on him, and the offense couldn't really get going. They had to throw for a lot of that game too, so maybe we shouldn't hype on that too much. But Kelce and Hill look good of course, and even Helaire was their third receiver there. So yeah, I think the Chiefs, they just need to come out hot, and we know that they can come from behind, but I don't think they want to do that every game. I don't.
It's stressful. That's hard on Andy Reid.
Exactly. We don't need his face mask fogging up every week.
No. Yeah, and I think something that was really noticed that was really noticeable to me, at least, was, and it was reiterated in statistics, was that the Chargers just, when Patrick Mahomes was running, they couldn't stop him. So as soon as Patrick Mahomes gets the ball and leaves the pocket, he's getting 10 yards every time.
Oh, yeah.
And that's not sustainable. So for the that's going to be something really big to focus on next time the Chargers see these guys, because you're not going to be able to beat Patrick Mahomes if you're not going to be able to stop his run game.
Yeah. All right. And the final game before we get to the Sunday night game, which is wrapping up right now, the Patriots are making a drive here. Cam's going to tuck it and run. Gets the first down. All right. Let's talk about the Ravens-Texans. Shocker. The Texans offense looked like they needed a number one red receiver. I don't think I'm going to let up on that all season.
Please don't.
They need another weapon, and they had another weapon in DeAndre Hopkins, who is now the weapon on one of the best offenses in the league in Arizona. I still don't get that trade. Will Fuller didn't even have a catch tonight. I don't know if he was targeted or what. The Ravens the Ravens did what they wanted against them. And to Houston's credit, their defense actually looked pretty decent and made a lot of stops against this team.
They didn't let Lamar run like a crazy maniac.
But they don't have the offense.
Plays, but yeah.
Deshaun has no help on that offense.
Yeah, and Deshaun didn't look awful considering what he had.
Yeah.
I think that needs to be pointed out. Like, Deshaun's not a bad quarterback, and he's really drawn the short end of the stick right now. I feel really bad for him. I do too. He's in a Dwayne Haskins situation. Good young quarterback, just shitty program.
The Ravens, to me, do feel like the best team in the league. Because if you can't
it's
stop,
not the best, the most confident,
because you have to be able to stop both aspects of Lamar's game, which is the running and the passing. And even if you can slow him down on both of those sides, they have a running game as well that isn't Lamar, and their defense is incredible. Like, this is a very scary, confident, like you said, team.
Yeah.
And they're kind of on a revenge tour because they lost in one playoff game last year. So they're a scary team. They're my early pick to at least represent the AFC in the Super Bowl right now. They look like the best team in the AFC.
Yeah,
bar none.
I can't disagree with you. I
Mhm.
mean, Lamar Jackson, like you said, we knew coming into the season, him specifically, he was looking to make some noise, and I definitely think he's making a statement right now. He's playing very, very confidently.
Do you know what their next game is?
What?
Monday night, Baltimore hosts the Chiefs.
Oh,
That's a preview of the AFC Championship.
hopefully it's a preview of the AFC Championship.
I don't see another team that's at the
Well,
caliber of those two.
Aren't the playoffs kind of weird this year?
Yeah, I get. Yeah, but I think the 1 and 2 would still potentially play each other.
But isn't it is it the bracket this year though? So like they
So
get
it's
upset?
so the number 1 still gets a bye, but they're the only one that gets a bye. The number 2 has to play wild card weekend, and it's the same thing. The lower seed, they almost scored. The lower seed plays the higher seed. So
Okay.
so as soon as the playoffs, it's going to be
So is it 7
two
teams?
plays. Yes, two is going to play 7.
Okay.
3 is going to play 6, and 4 and 5 are going to play, and then you go on. So 2 and 1, if they win, if 2 wins and then 2 and 1 win, they're going to play in the AFC Championship.
It definitely makes sense now.
Yeah. Man, like I said, that's going to be a great. We got 2 really good primetime games next week. Holy shit! Very excited for that, which is good because I work in the morning on Sunday. So before this game, New England's knocking on the door with 9 seconds. So I'm going to stall for a little bit before this game ends. Next week, we should be fine. It may just be a little later, and this is a little bit of admin. I'm basically telling Hanson this right now too. I work in the morning on Sunday next week. I work 8 to 3. My idea is that I'm going to record Red Zone and still watch the 7 hours when I get home. And we obviously have the Sunday night game on when that comes on, and I'll be dual screening like I normally do. So it might be just later Sunday night that we record and that the episode goes out, but that's still my plan, and hopefully I don't work too much on Sundays. But that's the plan for next week, so it shouldn't be too much different.
Sounds good.
Yeah, so let's let's live react to the Seahawks game.
Yeah, I was about to say, almost had it right there.
Yeah. Oh God, I forgot I'm ahead of you.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm watching 2nd and 10 from the 14-yard line, 13-yard line.
9 seconds.
Oh my ho. With 2 seconds left. They're calling a timeout.
I'm not that far yet. I saw him at 9 seconds with a timeout. let me reload my page and see if that will help.
It's gonna come down to the final play. This is crazy. I really apologize. This probably isn't great radio. If you want to skip, if you want to skip ahead a few minutes or so, you're more than welcome to. But I do want to talk about this game, so I'm waiting. I'm definitely waiting to see who wins.
Yeah, we intentionally timed it like this, so we
really did
right at the end of the game. Yeah,
it worked well last week on Monday. I think it's working this time too. We just got to see. Bill Belichick wears his mask so weird. Have you seen the play yet?
Oh boy. Ooh. The 2-yard line, 2 seconds.
They bumped it up to 3 seconds on my screen now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, I literally just saw the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I'm really back, but
this is wild. No timeouts. 3 seconds left. Seahawks up 5, but the Patriots have the ball at the 2-yard line.
Yeah.
You got to think Cam Newton's keeping it. I'm gonna
see. They're expecting Cam Newton to keep it,
but he's your best player. Do you maybe fake an outside run, triple option, have Julian Edelman streaking, triple option with the running back following you?
Julian Edelman jet stream.
I like it.
Edelman across.
All I'm gonna say is they didn't listen to us.
Yeah, they messed up. Yeah,
It's ugly when you get to it.
Yeah, Cam Newton's always very iffy in late game scenarios.
That was not the right play call. That was definitely. I mean, I'm not saying that they should have run what we were saying. That's just an idea, but they could have run so many more. They could have ran so many different things. It's so obvious where they're going with that. One guy actually made the play. If that one guy doesn't come in, who is that 91? He actually makes the play there. Damn. Great
Is it gonna be like a
individual effort.
fake handoff and Cam keeps?
Yeah, we'll talk about it in just a sec. Sorry, guys.
All right, so I'm about to watch it right now.
Yep.
No, they just. What were they expecting to happen?
So on the replay, you can he does actually have a hole. He does, but that 191 actually does come in and break that up on the replay when they show that. He breaks that up by himself. Cam might have got in if it wasn't for that guy.
Their line isn't good enough for them to run that play.
No,
with Cam.
I agree. Like I said, there's plenty of other options. You know how many times I've seen Bill Belichick run a fake pat or a fake run and a tight end's just wide open in the end zone? I don't know. There's so many things that they could have done there.
Yeah, this is when you throw your jet sweep Philly special.
Who is that? Collier. I don't even know who that is. Hell of a play though.
Yeah, if he had a gap, it was small. It was tiny.
I think
if it was there, it was tiny.
I think if Collier isn't there, I think Cam has a play at it, and we know his jumping ability, we know his length.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hey, honestly, the Patriots played better than I thought they were going to.
That's going to be the theme for this season.
You're probably right. 35-30 is the official final for the Seattle versus New England game. Cam Newton, 30 for 44 with 397, a touchdown and a pick. He had 11 carries for 47 yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Not surprised. Not surprising there. And Julian Edelman with 179 rushing yards. Looks like they are finding their chemistry early, which is kind of scary. Russell Wilson, 21 for 28. Again, just incredible accuracy from him. He had the 1 pick, but it was tipped up in the air to start off the night. 5 touchdowns on 288. Just crazy. Chris Carson getting going compared to last week, 17 carries for 72 yards. And DK Metcalf, 4 catches for 92 yards and 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown on Stephon Gilmore, too. He won that battle. Like, he was the man on that play.
That was a big boy touchdown.
And like I said earlier, these injuries to to San Francisco only make Seattle look like even more. I shouldn't even say even more because I don't they weren't the favorite in my opinion, but now they are the favorite to win the West. They look like, in my opinion, and I never want to be a homer. I never really want to put the Packers up there. But right now, the way the Packers have played the first 2 weeks, it looks like the Seahawks, the Saints, the Packers, and I'd even throw the Cardinals up there as 4 potential teams to represent the NFC.
Yeah, and there's not really –
I don't even
I'm thinking like right now I'm thinking like 6 and 7. And that's going to be an iffy – those are going to be some fun spots to try to watch the battles over. Because like I said earlier, the NFL right now is really balanced, which a lot more balanced than we were all expecting it to be. So, I mean, with the Jets being the worst team, they're not significantly farther off than how far the Browns were off, 5 years ago. So
yeah,
I think there's something to be said about that. I was gonna look something up and I forgot it now, but I was gonna look up the standings.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, again, it's only week 2, so our opinions are starting to form now. I think the overreactions are over. Except for in Tampa Bay, that there's just going to be overreactions all season. I think on that, whether they lose or win, people are going to be on that hype train. But I mean, it's going to be interesting how these injuries play into all of these games because it's going to be scary. Hopefully, KJ Wright. I didn't hear anything about him because we didn't have the volume on these games, obviously. But hopefully, KJ Wright's okay for the Seahawks. But yeah, I'm excited. Like I said, next week, New Orleans and Green Bay on Sunday night. We're going to talk about that. And Baltimore.
That game alone, that one game, could end up deciding who could win the NFC.
I've been waiting for this matchup for years. years I've been waiting. I wanted this matchup in the playoffs last year, but the fucking Vikings had to go and push out. Oh, I was so angry at that. I had it all planned out that the Seahawks were going to go in and beat the 49ers, and we were going to beat the Saints, and then we were going to beat the Seahawks, and we would have played the Kansas City Chiefs. I had it planned out.
Would have been so good.
At the fucking Vikings. No. What we should talk about, though, because we're going to talk after Thursday night, is the incredible matchup. I don't know who the fuck scheduled this, but Miami versus Jacksonville on Thursday night.
It's going to be a lot of yards.
Yeah. I mean, Fitzmagic.
High-scoring game.
Fitzmagic versus Minshew Mania. I mean, actually, you know what? Good job, whoever made this schedule, because that is prime time television right there.
This was originally scheduled to be Dollar Beer Night. I can almost guarantee you. This is the Uncle Rico themed Dollar Beer Night. Like, this is trailer trash.
I'm very excited to watch this. I think this is actually going to be a really fun game. I'll obviously be wearing my Minshew jersey.
It's gonna be so good.
It's gonna be fun. I'm very excited for that.
I wish there was fans at that game, because I genuinely feel like the type of fans that would be at that game would be so NASCAR compared to normal NFL fans.
Seattle and New England win best drama again. Yeah, of course they do. I'm gonna look at week 3. Let's look at this. So I'm looking on the score because that's the app that I use on my phone at least. Do they not have not injuries? Do they not?
Maybe the Bears will finally lose next week to the Falcons.
They don't have win probability or anything. That'll be an interesting game.
The ESPN app's got all that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to jump to there real quick. Early opinion, without even looking at anything, I think Jacksonville is gonna win. I think Jacksonville, the way that they're playing, they're out there having fun. They're out there playing really good football. Jackson and Minshew.
Not necessarily favored. It's 50.9 to 48.7 in favor of Miami. But Jacksonville's got the spread in their favor by 3 because it's at home.
Interesting. Why is my ESPN app not working?
That's about as 50-50 as it gets. So
interesting.
Literally 50-50.
I expect Minshew. Minshew had that. It was that game last year where he broke out and where Minshew was the guy on Thursday night. He likes this. He obviously likes it. I think it's going to be a really good game. I think you're right, though. I think it's going to be high scoring. But it's going
to be both of them are going to have 300 yards passing. And
let's break this down. I like to break down these bigger games, but this one's going to be a little more interesting. Offenses, I trust Minshew right now more than I trust Ryan Fitzpatrick. Defense, I trust the Jaguars defense more than I do the Dolphins defense. Coaching, I'm not really sure. I like B-Flow, but I also really like Doug Marrone. So I maybe lean Doug Marrone on that, but I'm not exactly sure. Special teams, I don't know squat about those two teams,
and it's in Jacksonville. So
it's in Florida. Okay, is Jacksonville the best team in Florida right now?
I think the Bucs are better than them.
We'll see. I don't know. We'll see at the end of the season. No, I think you're probably right.
If Tom Brady stays on this train and Gardner Minshew keeps continuing to progress, Gardner Minshew might be the best quarterback in Florida by the end of the season. I don't think that's too crazy to say. Honestly, not with the way Tom Brady's playing.
Yeah. They haven't updated their season stats yet, but yeah, I'm actually pretty excited. Now I've talked myself into it. I'm pretty excited for that Thursday night game. Like I said, I got Jacksonville. Let's see here. I'll go 31-24. I'll go.
All right. So I'm going to go Jacksonville too. I'm going to go 48-42. This is going to be this is going to be monster football. I'm talking the Girl Scouts are going to be on defense. And the offense is just going to be snacking the whole time. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be a really fun game to watch, I think. There's just so much offense. Well, and I honestly think it's going to be a big dick contest between Ryan Fitzpatrick and Gardner Minshew. Just who could throw the ball farther?
Beard versus mustache. I can't fucking
Honestly,
wait.
tell me this is not like Uncle Rico versus like his arch nemesis. Like they're in-state rivals. They both are known for their facial hair. They're both known for being rough around the edges and being like not like mainstream.
For willing bad teams into wins.
Like these guys are literally like straight out of like a prequel about Uncle Rico and his like former professional football career.
All right. Well, the next time you'll see us, it'll be right after that game on Thursday night. So slash hear us, I guess, and not everyone watches on YouTube. So go, like I said, go subscribe to the YouTube channel if you want to see our beautiful faces, or you want to see my fantasy football championship that I hopefully will still retain. And subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, wherever else you get your podcast from. Give us a review wherever you can, or share us. Do whatever it's all really appreciated. If you give us a 5-star review, I looked at them yesterday. I didn't see any new ones, but if you give us a 5-star review, I'll read it out on the air. I'll give you a little shout out and a big thank you, because again, that's how we grow as a podcast. Merch on Redbubble.
Your 5-star review can literally say anything.
Literally anything, and I will read it out.
Yes. So take that as you want.
Exactly.
It's fun.
Exactly. I got one. Yeah, I got a couple, but those are really old ones. So what else? Follow us on Twitter at FRKO Podcast. Follow Hanson at Hanson McIlvain. Follow me at Howard J. Dingers. Follow
our Twitters are starting to pick up right now with football going in full swing. So
exactly,
especially mine.
Exactly.
I was tweeting like a monster today.
I was too, until I realized that I was going to lose in fantasy, and then I just got very sad. What else was I going to? All those links are in the description below. Go subscribe to the other podcast. At one more last one. That podcast, and maybe I should actually check that while I'm listening to. That podcast is actually now on Amazon Music, because Amazon now has podcasts. So definitely, if you want to listen through Amazon, go ahead and do that. You can do it through Alexa. Don't do any stop, go away. But you can do it through that. You could if that's how you want to listen. First round should be there soon. I'm looking right there. It's not there yet, but it is submitted, so it should be there soon. But anyway, this was a really long outro. Thank you all for listening, and we will see you on Thursday.
Peace.